Okay, so Victoria messaged me about doing this base. This is one we demoed with booleans in one of the earlier weeks, but I figured there's an easier way to do it, maybe, which I've just tested, and that's using subdivision. Maybe not easier, but maybe a little bit more controllable. So there's our base mesh, control mesh, and there's our subdivided mesh. So I'll show you how we got to this point. If you remember looking at this reference, there's actually 7 sides, but it's going to be really difficult to actually do 7 sides because we're going to have to figure out the angle divided by 7. Much easier for us to do 8 sides. So I would say if you're using this reference, make it 8-sided. No one's going to know the difference, and it's going to be much, much easier to model. We're going to start with the sphere because we want this round shape here. And we're going to go with 32 sides. So 32 is a multiple of 8. That's why we're using it. You'll see in a sec. It's the kind of thing that requires a little bit of thought in advance and maybe test a few versions, see how many sides you need. 32 seems like a good number. And we're just going to stick with, I don't know, 8 sides on the cylinder itself, on the vertical. Delete the top. Extrude the inside. I'm going to extrude it backwards. 16 seems about right for this size. Obviously, this is really big, but I'll just scale it down afterwards. Going to make the top flat by using negative scale. So if I redo that operation, you can see it's angled up. Scale it down and it's flat. Snap it to the grid just on the Z-axis. The vertical axis, actually Y in Maya, Z in Unreal. We are going to go mesh display reverse, mesh display soften edge, and harden the top. We wanted these edges soft, but not these ones. I did all the edges, yeah. Oh. Make sure you're just in face mode, mesh display, harden edge, there we go. Okay. So how are we going to get this pattern? Well, we're going to extrude some parts up and leave some parts. The way I've done it with 32 is that every 2, we extrude 2. So 2, leave a gap of 2, 2, leave a gap of 2, 2, all the way around. I found it's easier to do the whole thing, even though there's more selecting. If we delete one side and then extrude, we have to like make all the sides line up. So I think it's easy to do it this way, where we are working on 8 identical selections at a time. So there's a little bit more time clicking on stuff, but I still think it's easier. Going to extrude that up. You can kind of see where we're going with this now. And we're going to grab these edges and go to edge ring utilities, edge ring and split. We're making a loop all the way down. We'll triangulate the bottom later. Same here. I'm just clicking on all the top edges and repeating the last operation by pressing G all the way around. And then we're going to grab these top edges, do exactly the same again. Extrude, up some, see how we're looking, a little bit too thin. We could use our side view. Let's get a 2-panel view up. There we go, that's nice to work with. And we're going to do the same. Actually, a different operation. We're just going to move the top edges to create the roundness. So instead of extruding these, we're just moving them up a little bit to round off this shape. I'm going to go back in side view, grab all the verts, move them down a little bit. I'm looking at the reference, looking at what the shape looks like. We're going to move these parts down to create the dips. And I should say we're kind of making this shape inside because we're going to extrude out to get the edge. So I'm not trying to get this exact shape. I'm more trying to get this shape. Like I said, the Boolean will let you be slightly more exact about the shape you're going to cut out. This is a little bit more freeform, but it's more flexible because we can just go back and move stuff and keep tweaking stuff as we go. This is non-destructive, whereas Booleans are destructive. It's a good way to think about it. So this is where we're at. obviously we need this lip, so we're going to grab the top edge. The nice thing about the way we've done this is that we have really nice edge flow around the whole thing still. So extrude this, some thickness. Let's try 6. I would like to go back into unsmooth mode to see what we've got. We have this result, it's looking pretty good. So we're just going to grab this edge and this edge. Thankfully they're nice face loops, so we can select the whole thing in one double click. Extrude these out. Let's try 4. Smooths nicely. Depending on the shape you want on the top, we could move this up or add more loops to harden the edge up there, like so. So I'm just using edge ring and split and just repeating the last operation to reinforce those edges. Looks pretty good, but it's way too thick, right? We can see this is really, really thin. So we can either move the inside out or the outside in. Works the same either way. I'm going to just grab, first things first, actually. Let's grab all these bottom edges. The problem we have here is that we have triangle, quad, quad, triangle, triangle, quad, quad, triangle, triangle, etc. So we need to make them all triangles so we can select the loops. So the easy way is just select them all, shift right click, triangulate. It's not going to triangulate anything that's already a triangle because it's already a triangle. So it's only going to act on those quads we had, and now they're all linked up. And now we can either start our selection down here by using tab, or we can grab this loop. And the way I'm going to do it is I want to select all the way up to here, basically. Well, starting here, shift right click, sorry, control right click, grow selection, grow, repeat, 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 repeat. There we go. So that lets us take a whole selection in one go. We can scale this out really easily to change the overall thickness. What I'm going to do is scale it out and then delete. Let's delete the edges first. Delete this one. Go back into face mode. Grab our selection again. Okay, let's get this full screen. And I'm just scaling on, just scaling outwards, not upwards, because we don't want to change the height of the parts at all. Looks good. We probably don't need all of these. Now we've tightened up the shape so much. But maybe we do want one there. Edge ring and split is our time-saving tool. And because we've scaled it, well, actually, no, the silhouette's still fine. We could maybe scale the whole thing down or grab from the bottom. Because it's subdivided, we can basically do whatever, and it's still going to be nice and smooth. So we can tweak it however we need. You could also obviously not have extruded this part if you wanted just a straight transition. So you could even delete all the edges. So we have a lip on the outside, but no lip on the inside. That looks a bit more like the reference, in my opinion. You can select this face loop, move it down to increase the curvature. And then obviously making the base, I'm sure you guys could figure out that you're going to just extrude from here. You could flatten it out first, or you could extrude, do it all in sub D, however you want to do it. But yeah, that's another way to approach it. I know people struggle with Booleans, and Maya's Boolean tools are not as good as they could be compared to, say, ZBrush. So that's a pretty nice way to get a good result. There we go. A little bit of pinching. So maybe it would make sense to start with actually yeah, that works. So start with 64 sides. It's going to be a little bit more confusing, but instead of splitting these, you could just start with 64, and you'd have to select, let me do the brain here. You'd have to select 4 faces for each extrusion, but otherwise it would be exactly the same. And let's triangulate those. Something like that. Obviously, I think we still have seems like we still have a tiny bit of pinching, but at the end of the day, is it going to be noticeable when it's textured? Probably not. But starting with 64 would get around that.